Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2442 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. In today's Wisdom Nugget, I'll guide you through the vast landscapes of biblical wisdom. Today we are continuing our journey through Psalm 18, focusing on verses 7 through 15 from the New Living Translation. In these verses, we witness a powerful depiction of God's might and His response to the prayers of His people. So let's prepare our hearts and minds as we delve into this passage's vivid imagery and profound truths. Psalm 18, verses 7 through 15. Then the earth quaked and trembled, the foundations of the mountains shook. They quaked because of His anger. Smoke poured out of His nostrils, fierce flames leaped from His mouth. Glowing coals blazed forth from Him. He opened the heavens and came down. Dark storm clouds were beneath His feet. Mounted on a mighty angelic being, He flew soaring on the wings of the wind. He shrouded Himself in darkness, veiling His approach with dark rain clouds. Thick clouds shielded the brightness around Him and rained down hail and burning coals. The Lord thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High resounded amid the hail and the burning coals. He shot His arrows and scattered His enemies. His lightning flashed, and they were greatly confused. Then at your command, O Lord, and the blast of your breath, the bottom of the sea could be seen, and the foundations of the earth were laid bare. In these verses, we are presented with a stunning portrayal of God's majesty and power. David describes the Lord's intervention in dramatic terms with vivid imagery that evokes awe and reverence. In verse 7, he says, "The earth quakes and trembles. The very foundations of the mountains shake in response to God's anger." This is a powerful reminder of the might and sovereignty of God over all creation. The following verses 8 and 9 continue His depiction of God's power. Smoke poured from His nostrils. Fierce flames leaped from His mouth. Glowing coals blazed forth from Him. He opened the heavens and came down. Dark storm clouds were beneath His feet. The imagery here is striking, emphasizing God's overwhelming strength and intensity of His presence. As we move on to verses 10 and 11, we see God's divine intervention described in terms of the celestial journey. Mounted on a mighty angelic being, He flew soaring on the wings of the wind. He shrouded Himself in darkness, veiling His approach with dark rain clouds. This poetic description highlights the swiftness and majesty of God's movements, as well as the mystery surrounding His actions. In verse 12, thick clouds shielded the brightness around Him and rained down hail and burning coals. We see a continuation of the theme of God's power over the elements. The brightness of His presence is so intense that the clouds must shield it, and the hail and burning coals emphasize the destructive power that can be unleashed at His command. Verse 13 brings a powerful auditory element to the vision. The Lord thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High resounded amid the hail and the burning coals. The sound of the Lord's voice is likened to thunder, a sound that is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. His description serves as a reminder of His authority and power inherent with God's voice. In verse 14, we see the result of God's intervention. He shot His arrows and scattered His enemies. His lightning flashed, and they were greatly confused. The imagery of the arrows and lightning conveys the precision and swiftness of God's actions. His enemies are scattered and thrown into confusion, unable to stand against the mighty power of the Almighty. Finally, verse 15, we see a culmination of the power's imagery. Then at your command, O Lord, at the blast of your breath, the bottom of the sea could be seen, and the foundations of the earth were laid bare. This verse emphasizing the complete and total sovereignty of God over the natural world. At His command, the seas are parted, and the very foundations of the earth are exposed. This is a reminder of God's control over all creation, a testament to His ultimate authority and power. As we reflect on these verses, we are reminded of the immense power and majesty of God. David's vivid description serves as a highlight to this awe-inspiring nature of God's intervention in the world. But beyond the powerful imagery, there is a deeper message of God's protective care for His people. David's words are a reminder that God is not distant or detached from our struggles. He is actively involved, responding to the cries of His people with strength and might. This passage encourages us to trust God's ability to protect and deliver us from our enemies, no matter how formidable they may seem. As we consider these lessons from this passage, several key points emerge. First is to recognize God's sovereignty. These verses remind us of God's ultimate authority over all creation. Recognizing God's sovereignty helps us to trust His plan and timing even when we face difficult circumstances. Second, trusting God's power. David's vivid description of God's power reminds us that no challenges are too great for the Lord. We can trust in His ability to overcome any obstacle and defeat any enemy. Third, seek God's protection. Just as David called upon the Lord in the time of need, we too can seek God's protection and deliverance. He is our refuge and strength, a very present help in times of trouble. And fourth, stand in awe of God's majesty. The imagery in this passage invites us to stand in awe of God's majesty and power. Let us cultivate a sense of reverence and worship for the Lord, who is worthy of all praise. As we apply these lessons to our lives, we deepen our relationship with God and strengthen our faith. Recognizing God's sovereignty gives us a peace and confidence in His plan. Trusting in His power enables us to face the challenges with courage and hope. Seeking His protection provides us with comfort and security in times of trouble. And standing in awe of His majesty inspires us to live lives of worship and devotion. As we conclude our exploration of Psalm chapter 18, verses 7 through 15, let's carry these lessons with us on our journey. Recognize God's sovereignty, trust in His power, seek His protection, and stand in awe of His majesty. By doing so, we align ourselves with the timeless wisdom of David's prayer and live the lives that reflect God's love and faithfulness. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Wisdom Trek. May these insights of Psalm 18 inspire and strengthen you as you continue your trek through life. Until the next time, keep seeking God's wisdom, cherish each moment, and continue to make a positive impact on the world around you. And if you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us and come along with us tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, creating a legacy. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, and most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. See you next time for more daily wisdom.